This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where every week this brother-sister duo gets together to discuss the box office, latest film and TV scoops, along with our latest movie or show review, and what we're getting into next. We are your hosts, Cheryl.
And Jay.
This week we have a movie.
Yay.
Like we didn't last episode. But we did a lot of news last week, so we stood out. We still gave you guys some good news. But this week we have a movie. We will be reviewing Dune Part Two.
Yep.
It's not a sequel. I guess it's just the second half of Dune Part One.
Yeah, because it picks up exactly where
it literally picks up as if nothing ever happened or nothing has progressed since the last movie. But so our movie trivia today, I think, will be based off Dune Part Two, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, hit me with it.
Okay, so Dune Part 2 trivia. Okay, so there were 5 actresses. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't count. 6 actresses.
Okay.
Who were considered for the role of Lady Margot Fenring in Dune, which was played by Léa Seydoux.
Okay.
In the film. So there's 6.
There's 6?
Well-known white women actresses.
I was going to say, you got or any of them black? Okay.
Can you name 3?
Are they the same age as her?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but they look similar.
All right.
And, yeah.
Okay. Jodie Foster. She kind of looks like she...
Okay, so within not the same age as Léa Seydoux, but ballpark. So,
okay.
None of these people, well, one is a legend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney?
No.
Okay.
Actresses that you like.
Okay. I like how you said, not her. Right. Actresses that you like. Anne Hathaway.
That would have been a good choice, but no. No.
What's her name? Scarlett Johansson?
Close, but no.
Dang.
Okay, I'll give you a hint.
Maria Hill. I'm blanking on her name. Kobe Smolder?
No.
I at least want to get one. Oh, what's her name from... She played Leonardo DiCaprio's wife in Inception? I can't think of it.
Mal?
Yes.
No, but close. Okay.
I'm getting closer?
You're getting closer.
I'm getting closer. I'm trying to go through like all the Christopher Nolan movies and all I'm thinking of is the man. Florence Pugh? Technically? I know she's in this movie, but was she also considered for this role?
No.
Okay.
None of these actresses, strangely, none of these actresses were casted in other roles in the film.
Okay, so no other actress casted in any other
Okay, so I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
One is related to somebody that we're currently watching a TV show about.
Oh, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes. So Gwyneth Paltrow is one. She's the legend in the bunch.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have. I guess, I mean, yeah.
I haven't seen Gwyneth Paltrow in anything in a while.
Right.
So
that's given like
even though this role wasn't like huge, but yeah.
It required a knack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she pulled her out of her James Bond bag.
Yeah.
A little bit in this. Okay, let me think of somebody else. Liv Tyler?
No.
Oh my God, I'm naming everybody but the people that's on the list. What is her name that Steve Rogers was in love with? Peggy.
No, but so close.
Oh
I'll give you this one. So close, I'll give you this one.
Mm-hmm.
So Natalie Dormer, who played the blonde chick that Peggy caught Steve making out with.
Oh, okay.
And the first Captain America.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going through all my movies. Natalie Portman.
Did you already say Natalie Portman?
No,
but not Natalie Portman.
Oh my God, why am I naming everybody but who was on this list?
Okay, I'll give you another hint.
Okay.
One is from your favorite James Bond movie.
I don't even know what my favorite James Bond movie is.
Oh
no. Oh yes, my girl. Don't tell me. Don't say her name.
Okay.
Eva Green.
Yes.
Oh, now she
would have been really good.
She would have pulled this off.
She would have been good at any part of this movie.
If they would have put her in this role and be like, "This is not justice. She need to be in a bigger. She need to be Chani."
Yeah.
If we gonna get Eva Green
needs to be like in a big part of this movie.
If we gonna have Eva Green in a movie, you need to give
be
her
like a Reverend Mother.
A role. Thank you. A role. Okay, so who were the 3 that I would not have guessed?
So Gwyneth Paltrow was one I didn't think you were going to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie Dormer was one I didn't think you were going to guess. Olivia Taylor-Dudley is another one. Been in a bunch of smaller things. She's like the least famous out of this entire lineup.
Okay.
She's been in a bunch of like smaller shows like The Magicians, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay.
The other 2 actresses is Elizabeth Debicki
Okay.
From Tenet, and she was from Guardians of the Galaxy.
She would have did good in that.
She would have did good. Mm-hmm. And Amy Adams. Which I think Amy Adams just seems a little too sweet to be in the world of Dune.
Well, it's
even though she's a great actress.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Amy would have fit.
I don't know what...
I'm sure she could have done it, but...
So that particular role, even though it wasn't big, like you said, Léa Seydoux did really good in it, and it required a certain sauce in order to pull the role off.
A little bit of
Out of these, I only see Eva Green and maybe Elizabeth Debicki.
Yeah,
because she was really good in Tenet.
Either one of those would have worked.
Yeah,
for sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
I would say the best woman won. I mean, I don't even know if Eva Green was would have been interested, but she was like, this 5 minutes? I don't think so.
Right.
All right.
A handful of lines.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the trivia for this episode. Let's get into the rest of the show. Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we actually have a pretty short news cycle. We say that every time and then it's long, but we have a couple announcements as far as TV shows and movies. In our trailer park, we have 3 new trailers that we have not seen yet. And then in quick bits, we have some quick bits about movies that we are either already scheduled to come out, got moved around, or are new announcements that we hadn't heard of yet. So starting at the top of the list, Beef Season 2. So according to Deadline, Beef Season 2 Beef will get a second season. Unusually though, because I don't know if this was announced earlier or if everybody was learning this at once, it will not be a continuation of season 1. Mm-hmm. So I said this in a previous episode, I did not finish Beef Season 1. There was some controversy around it and I just quit it. But if you saw it and you liked it, the same people will not be coming back for the second season. Mm. It looks like it's going to revolve. It's going to be, what do you call it when they change it every
anthology
season? Yes, it seems like it's going to be anthology series, like a American Horror Story. I think it's like that, right?
Or like Feud.
What's Feud?
Feud is the Ryan Murphy shows where they do he does feud between two actors that is based in real life. So Capote versus the Swans was one.
Okay.
Joan Crawford and Betty Davis.
Okay. Yeah. Got you. So Beef Season 2 sounds like it's going to revolve around 2 feuding couples. If you've never seen Beef 1, the show gives away the title, or the title gives away what the show is about. Beef is essentially about, season 1 was about 2 people that got into a road rage incident and they didn't let it go. And it got really ridiculous after that. So Beef is about the term beef, when you got some beef with somebody. The rumor, though, is that Charles Melton and Kaylee Spaney, who I'm not familiar with Kaylee. Charles Melton was just in the May-December.
Kaylee played Priscilla.
Right.
Mm-hmm. In the Priscilla Elvis movie. So
those are rumored to be one couple. And then the other couple is said to be Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. Mm-hmm. So I don't think anything is official yet. This lineup, though, it's funny because we started watching WeWork.
We crashed.
Right. Basically, WeWork crashed. The Hulu or Apple TV show that Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto did. I was like, I don't know if Anne Hathaway would do TV, but I'm like, we're literally watching Anne Hathaway in the TV show. And she good.
She's really good.
She the best part of that.
Yeah.
So definitely watch We Crashed if you haven't seen it. But her paired with Jake Gyllenhaal, who also has played a psycho in the
Nightcrawler. I'll never forget Nightcrawler.
Ooh, that movie made me so upset.
It was so creepy.
It made me upset in a good way because he did a real good job of playing a psycho. This actually sounds pretty darn good.
It does. It sounds like it's going to be kind of like the first half of season 2 or 3 of You. Where when him and Love are living next door to the other couple.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like awkward tension. So
yes,
it seems
those
like
first
it's gonna
couple
be
episodes.
Like, so it seems like it's going to be a whole season of that. This did get a little bit of controversy.
The casting did?
Well, the announcement of them doing a season 2 at all, because Beef season 1 has been racking up the awards.
It has.
This award season because they've been competing in the limited series category. But when you create a season 2 of a show,
is it limited?
Is it limited anymore? So
I'm sure there's a loophole.
There was controversy around whether or not this is actually still considered a limited series, because it's easier to win awards when you're in the limited series
category
versus like if they didn't call themselves a limited series, they would be in categories competing against shows like Succession.
Oh, well, which has been winning everything.
Right.
So that's interesting. I didn't hear about that. You made a good point of saying the perfect way to get away from the controversy from the first season is to literally scrap everybody.
Yeah.
And start all over.
Because after the controversy with the one actor on Beef, and then everybody on the show wrote the letter in support of him, it just didn't didn't sit right. I'm actually surprised it's winning. Everybody's been kind of real quiet about that as it's been winning awards. Nobody's really brought that back up. No.
So they kind of like sweeping that under the rug, and they're even going to more sweep it under the rug because they're like, yeah, none of these people are coming back, so don't worry about it.
And I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch Beef season 2 because I feel like all these people at the moment are not problematic.
Yeah,
that we know of.
I think it also just because it started out as like, I think people thought it was going to be like an Asian show because that's how it blew up and came to fame, and then they kind of like switched all the cast.
Skirt.
So
we got to shift gears.
Even though they switched the cast, I like this cast. These are long,
more established
actors that we've seen.
Because Steve Yeun was in season 1. He's good.
Yeah, we like Steve Yeun.
And Ali Wong, who I only know from stand up, and I hadn't seen her stand up.
I liked her stand up on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah. Then the first, like what I saw was good, and then it went to poop. So I ain't finished it. But this sounds good. I would tune into this.
Absolutely.
It doesn't say anything about when it's coming out. I think it's super, super early talks, but we will keep you up.
Anne Hathaway's in her wife bag. Like she's playing the wife
mother.
on We Crash. She's doing the mother, and then she's doing this as well. So.
She good in We Crash.
She's good. Yeah.
There's an episode in We Crash, episode 3, where she stepped all the way into the Birkin of acting and pulls out the most expensive compact and I was like, oh, okay, girl, you doing this up. I like this. Jared Leto is good. So this is probably my most Jared Leto movie thing that I've been able to stand.
Yeah. This is the most I've enjoyed watching Jared Leto in something.
He was good in Haunted Mansion.
He was
playing a ghost, okay. And he didn't look nothing like the ghost.
Motion capture.
But it was good. He did pretty good.
But Anne Hathaway is like, everybody on We Crashed is really good.
Yes.
I don't think there's anybody on We Crashed that I don't like, but Anne Hathaway is like running in circles and heels around the entire cast.
It's good. Yeah. So Beef season 2 is coming out. Hopefully if you were a fan of season 1, you're not too upset because all the people that you have grown to like are not coming back. So speaking of Jared Leto, he's in our next bullet point here. So Tron Ares, which is a sequel or prequel?
I think it's supposed to be a sequel.
Okay.
A loose sequel. So it's not completely tied to the Jeff Bridges movies.
Okay. I have not seen Tron.
I saw the Tron that they released like in the early 2000s that they brought Jeff Bridges. It was about Jeff Bridges and his son coming into the world of Tron to find Jeff Bridges.
Is this the one that Cillian Murphy was in? Did I just make that up? Has Cillian Murphy never been in a Tron movie?
Was Cillian Murphy in that?
Hold on, I'm about to look it up. No. Why did I make that up? I have to edit that out or not. Anywho.
No, he wasn't. It was the one with Olivia Wilde and...
okay.
Yeah.
No.
Jeff Bridges.
Okay. So Tron Ares is coming out next year, but we got some more information about what the movie is about. It follows a highly sophisticated program, Ares, aka AI, I'm sure of some sort, who's sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking mankind's first encounter with quote unquote AI beings. I called it before I even got to that part. It's sounding very, what I hope we don't get is a bunch of AI centered movies.
Oh, of course.
This is like the third
Absolutely.
movie we've talked about in like the third episode in a row where the plot is like AI is coming, guys.
Yeah.
Let's not overdo it. This is gonna get real cheesy here in a moment if every third movie is an AI centered movie.
Super gonna be. It's funny because like they have been making AI movies forever. I keep thinking about that Shia LaBeouf movie where they're fighting like the AI jet plane, Eagle Eye.
Oh, okay. I remember Eagle Eye.
And it there was also the Jamie Foxx movie where he was in the Air Force and they were fighting the AI plane.
I mean, Terminator is essentially about.
Terminator is like the godfather of like AI movies.
I mean, Skynet. Say it 3 times fast.
I actually used to have Stealth.
I remember. It's funny. You are naming these movies that I haven't seen, but I've heard of.
Stealth with Josh Lucas, Jessica Biel, and Jamie Foxx, and they played.
I remember
they were like a team of Air Force,
they
had like this AI jet that used to be their best friend, but then they like got corrupt and they had to take it down.
Of course, that sounds cheesy too. So the cast of TRON Ares as of now is, hold on, let me pull it back up.
It's a good cast list.
It's pretty good. Jared Leto plays Ares. Oh, so Jared Leto is the AI?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And Ares is people have been breaking down the name. So like Ares is
like the God of War situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Evan Peters is in this. Greta Lee, Jodie Turner-Smith, Gillian Anderson, Cameron Monaghan.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Shame. I recognize that face. He's from Shame. Who else is on this cast list that I recognize?
Simon Minaj.
He is. Oh, I recognize him.
He's from The Daily Show, and he's a stand-up. He's a stand-up
comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's interesting about this cast list on Wikipedia? Nobody has character names except Jared Leto.
Right.
So we don't know who is playing what, and it seems like they're keeping that ambiguous because I wonder if it gives away the plot.
I don't know.
If you tell who is who,
and I wonder if is Jared Leto going to be the only? Is it going to be the only program? It sounds. It's starting to sound a little bit like Agent Smith comes into the real world.
Agents. Oh yeah, I could see that. Agent Smith from the Matrix, and people are like, "Who?" I could see that. But once again, we've kind of already done that. It was the Matrix.
Yeah, but
okay.
Tron technically came first.
Oh, fair enough. We will see what comes of this. We don't have any trailer. And actually, the release date is only 2025. They don't even have like an actual set date yet, which means they probably playing with the script and reshoots and all that.
Probably.
I don't know if it says in January 2024, production has begun. So they've at least started.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I have to see a trailer. I don't think I am not a big Tron person. So I would need to be convinced. I like Jodie Turner-Smith though.
Yeah, so I do like Jodie Turner-Smith.
We'll see how it goes. Next bit of news we have is a scary movie coming from M. Night Shyamalan, or it might not be scary. It might be a thriller. Not all of his movies are straight up horror. It's a film called Trap that's going to star Josh Hartnett, who was most recently in Oppenheimer, who we both said, where the heck Josh Hartnett been?
Yeah.
Because he was good in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he's not been in more movies.
I don't know.
It's very strange. But he described it as a very bizarre, very dark and wild, which is literally every M. Night Shyamalan.
Like Lady in the Water?
I mean, all of his movies are like that, though.
Or like The Village.
The Village was weird and dark and wild and bizarre. That movie Old with the beach.
Old with the beach. Mm-hmm. That was very dark, weird,
that was
bizarre.
Weird, but like he don't know how to make Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Dark, weird, bizarre.
Yeah. So
it could be good or bad. I know his last couple movies have not been hitting with the general audiences, but
okay, because he's had a real tough time sticking the landing on the end.
Yeah, because he also had the movie with Dave Bautista and Ron.
Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin.
Yes, I think he does really good with plot. But when it comes like plot and building the world and putting all the pieces that make it interesting, but when it comes to sticking that landing, he's
not
been
so
a little
much
bit wobbly.
Right. We don't have too many plot details. I will say having Josh Hartnett in it, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Now The Village is one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. I don't know if it's well received like on a wider scale, but that was one movie that I wouldn't consider horror. It was more thriller. And this actually,
think the monsters was horror?
But they were, no, but they were more kind of like creepy and not like demons. You know what I mean? Because you know me, when a horror movie and we get to supernatural, I'm already checked out. But if it's a horror movie with like an actual killer that you can kill, I'm okay with that. They just look a little creepy. That's all. I was able to handle that. This film is actually described, I said, I don't know if it's horror or thriller. It's actually described as a film will be a psychological thriller set at a concert. And it's called Trap. So people get trapped
at a concert.
People get trapped at a concert venue.
Sounds like a large cast.
You know what it is? Here we go. Here it's going to be. They're going to be trapped at a concert venue, an indoor concert venue, because you can't be outside and be trapped, right? So indoor concert venue, some sort of pop star, rock star situation, and some with the devil sacrifices. It's given third dimension multiverse situation. I'm just guessing. Okay. We don't know, but it's M. Night Shyamalan, so it's gonna be weird. It's not gonna be straightforward, and there's gonna be some crazy plot twist at the end. You can guarantee on those three for sure. All right, that's actually all we have for news.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's short, to the point. We're gonna jump into our trailer park. The first trailer that we have, segue, is from the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. Her name is Ashana Night Shyamalan. She has a movie coming out called The Watchers, which does look straight up horror. Now, them little things in this trailer actually look scary.
Yeah. So I'll read the synopsis.
Okay.
So The Watchers is about a 28-year-old artist named Mina, who is played by Dakota Fanning, gets stranded in an expensive, untouched forest in Western Ireland. Upon finding shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside three strangers who are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures each night. So, yeah, it's very strange. The trailer pretty much just shows Dakota Fanning and four other people.
In like a box of some sort.
Georgina Campbell stars in this as well. She is from one of my other favorite horror movies, Barbarian.
Okay. So she got some skills in this area.
Her and Bill Skarsgård, I believe.
Oh, was he in it?
He was in Barbarian as well.
Okay.
Oliver Finnegan, who I don't know where he is from, and Olwen Ferrer, who I think was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, so everybody's got some horror background in this, which is helpful.
Yeah, she played Sally Hardesty in the 2002 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was terrible.
I ain't seen neither one of those.
They massacred the character of Sally Hardesty.
Ew.
But, I mean, literally and figuratively. They, like, destroyed the character and, like, put her on a chainsaw.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the trailer just shows Dakota Fanning and these three other strangers sitting in like a room that looks like this old fashioned living room, but it's just like just a room in the middle of the forest.
One room.
And it's got a one-way mirror.
As the other wall of it.
One of the walls is a one-way mirror, and they can't see out, but they know that people outside can see in.
Yes.
Whoever has them trapped in there, and they can feel and hear them watching them.
Right. And one of the characters says like they're making a lot of chatter. And one of them said, "Oh, it's applause for you." So it seems like they don't speak regular English.
But it doesn't sound human.
It doesn't. Yeah. They ain't human, because the last shot of the trailer is of some
hands
the village looking things without the coats.
They look like
essentially. This is given straight up horror to me. I need to see more.
It's given The Village.
It's given a souped up village.
Yeah.
Spookier
village.
Because at least with it
looks like there's also, and they at some point get out of the room, because we also see scenes of Dakota Fanning and the other actors in a cave,
running in a forest,
investigating some hole in the ground, and one guy gets pulled down into it. So,
who was not in the original,
who wasn't in the room with them,
right?
Yeah, so maybe there's like these creatures who are in the forest who are abducting people who pass through, like wrong turn,
maybe. Because I think Dakota Fanning looks like she has a bird cage with her or something.
Yeah. So, and we don't know none of them know each other. They're all strangers. Right. So we don't know what led them all individually into this forest or not.
It's given very much, very bizarre, very dark, very wild. Yeah. Just Josh Hartnett described the dad's movie.
This movie is scheduled for a theatrical release on June 14th, 2024 from Warner Brothers.
I think he has a deal with Warner Brothers.
Who, M. Night Shyamalan?
Like a first look deal. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have one, which would explain how he is putting out movies so quick.
So you think by extension, because he produces?
Oh, you're right.
Movie,
this is his daughter. Oh, yeah.
Because he's a producer on it, so
right.
Maybe
a little nepotism
this counts
wearing
as
off.
one of his films.
It could.
Yeah,
I could for sure. I could see that counting as one of his films, and he's giving his daughter a hookup. I ain't mad about it.
There you go. Hopefully, it's good because this is her first movie. And
yeah,
he's touch and go. So.
She already kind of got a little bit of.
Maybe it's like a Sofia Coppola situation.
She took a while to get there because everybody reamed Godfather Part 3, which I thought was fine. But everybody strikes from the record.
She did Priscilla. People seem.
That's what I'm saying. She just took a little while to get there. Next trailer we have is for The Strangers Chapter 1, which comes out May 17th, which is my birthday of this year. This is also giving.
This is a horror.
This is giving horror. It is based off the original. It's a remake of the original The Strangers horror movie with Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like it's a little too soon to be remaking that movie.
Well, so it's strange because it looks like it's a remake.
Yes, it does.
It says on the wiki, it says this serves as the third film in the Strangers film series. It's the first installment of a new trilogy of standalone sequel films, which that doesn't make sense because... So in the first Strangers, because The Strangers is supposed to be loosely based on a real group of people who went door to door terrorizing people. So the first Strangers was Liv Tyler and her husband. I don't remember who his name was. And they die at the end. And then the sequel is about the same strangers terrorizing a different family of 4.
Okay.
And the family of 4, the son and daughter live, but they kill all of the strangers. Like,
okay.
To where they can't.
So maybe it's like a copycat situation.
Maybe it's like a cult thing.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or which copycat cult? Tomato, potato.
Yeah.
I might have to skip this.
It's like a Charles Manson thing.
It could be. It could be. I think it's interesting that they're setting themselves up to have 3 chapters and this one ain't out yet to get some type of like reception before we dedicating a whole trilogy to a new set of movies.
Yeah, because they're not using like well-known actors. These are like fresh faces that are in this.
Right.
And
the trailer the trailer basically shows this couple, they go to like this Airbnb out in the countryside, in the woods or whatever. And we already know a couple alone in a strange town in the woods. We already know how this gonna go. And the trailer very much gives, how are they gonna make it out of this hot mess? Because it's like 3 against 2.
Yeah, and it's always like in a secluded area. Like the first Strangers was their vacation home. That was like not in the forest, but it was
beachside
rural.
residence.
It was suburban enough where you couldn't just run to the neighbor's house.
Kind of like Leave the World Behind.
Yes.
But not as nice.
Yeah, definitely not as nice as House. And they were that movie was interesting because it was only them. They had to survive together, but they also were dealing with the fact that he proposed and she said no.
Oh,
so
okay.
There was like that tension there as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
This trailer looks a little bit cheesy.
It looks pretty straightforward.
I don't know it's because of the actors that they chose for it, but there's a lot of like they do the signature, the stranger knocks at the door and asks if Tamara is home. Yeah. And just to see basically the only reason they do that is to see if somebody answers the door. Okay. There is no actual Tamara.
See, listen, this how you know these main characters ain't black, because if I'm out in the middle of nowhere in my Airbnb and somebody knocking on the door, guess who? Well, I'm not doing. Yeah. Answering the door.
Opening the door wide open.
Listen, I'm peeking out of the curtain like, I don't know who that is.
So it's funny because, and they do the same thing that they did in the Liv Tyler one, which I like The Strangers, even though it was spooky. But the whole point, I've never owned a home, so it's much harder to kill somebody in an apartment because they're neighbors and you can hear ruckus. But
listen, I'm in a condo. Somebody would hear me get massacred.
Right.
Absolutely.
I've never owned a detached home.
Me neither.
So in the first Strangers with Liv Tyler, like the chick knocks on the door and she asks if Tamara's home. But when they open the door up, it's dark. You can't see her face. And Liv Tyler was like, this chick unscrewed our porch light to knock on our door so we couldn't see our face. So that was like the first clue that something weird was going on. And that's when they should have left the house. But
yeah, I would have been out of there.
But yeah, this looks a little cheesy because when they open the door and she asks like, is Tamara home? And they say no, and she leaves, and she goes like, oh, that was weird. Like they have like dialogue moments where they're like saying things.
They're doing the typical idiots in the scary movie moves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, they don't have a gun. It looks like
no, and they don't have a gun. And it says that they're traveling across the country, and they decide to stop at an isolated Airbnb in the forest.
Absolutely not.
Just setting yourself up for slaughter.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Maybe we need some more trailers, but it is coming out in May. I wonder if anything else is coming out that weekend where they might have some competition. We'll see. The next trailer we have, do we want to do this one?
We can do this one.
Okay.
So this one is going to be I Saw the TV Glow. And this is a little bit of a weird one. It does have an official release date. It released in January 18th, 2024 at Sundance.
Okay, so it's already up.
Mm-hmm. And it's getting a wide release on May 3rd of 2024.
May is about to get packed.
Yeah, so in a couple months it'll have a wide release. So far, because it's only been at Sundance, it's only gotten a certain amount of reviews. Currently 91% on Rotten Tomatoes from 33 critic reviews.
Okay, that's not bad.
And on Metacritic, it's got a 8.3 out of 10.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And a film score of 86 out of 100. It's considered universal acclaim, basically.
Somebody likes it.
Through all of its scores. The premise is two teenagers bond over their love of a television series. After it's mysteriously canceled, their reality begins to blur. So this has a very, very long cast list. We have Justice Smith, who was from
Dungeons and Dragons,
Jurassic World series.
He's going to be in that Magical Negroes movie that's not getting promoted at all.
No. Detective Pikachu. Yeah, they kind of just completely
Listen,
they
saw that backlash and was like, we might have to push this back.
But it also has a bunch of other actors and actresses. A couple here, Fred Durst, who is from Limp Bizkit, which is strange. Danielle Detweiler, who will also be in Parallel. But she was also from For Color Girls.
And Harder They Fall. And
Harder They Fall. Mm-hmm. Phoebe Bridgers, who is an artist. So, yeah, it's strange. They have a lot of artists in here.
Is it a musical?
No.
Do we know if it's
Amber Benson, who's from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's got like a cast list of like 15 different people in here, and not all of them have names, but some of them are named talent, so it's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very strange. So this trailer basically shows Justice Smith and a friend, and I guess they're childhood
She's like
friends.
The lead, it seems like.
She's the
female
lead
character.
She goes missing, and it's implied that the TV show that they watched when they were kids and that they bonded over had something freaking supernatural going on with it, because now they're like grown-up adults still talking about how the TV show affected them.
Right.
This like cartoon or the show about...
They don't really show the show, it doesn't seem like.
They don't really show the show, but they describe the show, which sounds like any other show we had as a kid, where she says like every episode is a villain of the week or a villain of the day.
You have to kill like the monster or whatever.
Every episode is about the heroes get together to kill whoever the monster of the day or monster of the week is in that episode. And eventually she goes missing, and it seems like that maybe she might have gotten sucked into the world of the TV. Yeah. This is an A24
I was going to
film.
say, it's very like wow and what do I want to say? Fantastical.
Yeah.
Because it's an A24 movie, which is, more independent than like your Warner Brothers or your Disney.
It reminds me of, remember that trailer for Skinamarink?
Oh,
which I think was Skinamarink an A24 movie?
I don't know, but it was a horror movie. And I remember that trailer because it was this weird... They didn't show much in the trailer. It had like the Blair Witch effect going on, and it had this really creepy voice. And I hated it because they played it every time we went to the movies. Yeah,
so the whole point of the Skinamarink movie was about two kids, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, who were left at home alone.
Yeah,
the whole point of the movie is supposed to make you feel, it's supposed to make you remember what it was like being a kid, being at home alone at night for the first time.
Not at 4 and 6, but go ahead.
We're not at 4 and 6. But I mean, there obviously some weird, freaky, supernatural stuff has happened to the parents. That's why the kids are home alone. Mm-hmm. But it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
It did. The trailer was very effective in that.
Skinamarink movie, there's no music. The only audio is the TV.
Yeah.
Because the kids get left at home with the TV playing like this spooky throwback kids cartoon over and over again.
Very unsettling.
Yeah. So this looks spooky. May not see it.
You might have to check this out for the both of us if you do.
I just need more synopsis because it's just
not a straightforward trailer. You're kind of at the end. You're like, okay, so what's happening now?
Because it's like 2.5 minutes of telling you absolutely nothing.
Correct.
Other than the fact that it has something to do with.
It's colorful.
It's almost like the Poltergeist when the girl was like touching the TV screen. That's what it seems like. This is going to be like a whole movie of.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm a pass on this, but good for Justice Smith.
Yes,
he will probably need a good movie with some good reviews after
Magical Negroes comes out,
right? Which actually comes out the 15th.
He could be a Detective Pikachu too.
Okay, yeah, that's a glow up.
Yeah,
maybe
it was a real flop not putting Magical Negroes out during Black History Month
because we was going to go see it.
I mean,
were we though? Listen, we didn't
Would it have fared better outside of Black History?
We didn't see the Book of Clarence, and that was a literal all-back cast. Yeah. So let's be for real. All right. So that's all we have for our trailer part. Next, we'll get into our segment Quick Bits. First, at the top of the list is Bad Boys 4 got moved up a week to June 7th of this year.
Yes.
I think we literally just talked about last episode how we were like, is this coming out?
Yeah.
This year?
There's no trailer.
There's no set photos. There's no pictures. There was an announcement that the actor who played Will Smith's son in the last one is back.
Yes.
Which makes me slightly disappointed.
Or they were going to bring him back.
I don't care nothing about that family. I don't care.
They implied the whole, you're in prison, but you can get probation if you strike a deal and work with us thing at the end.
I have been very vocal about how much I did not particularly care for the last Bad Boys movie.
And they set up the whole team of younger Spec Ops guys.
Trash that plot line. Although I think they're going to keep it because I read the cast list and it looked like all these people I don't know are back. I'm like, oh, this must be the team I ain't care about. Yeah. They really kind of fumbled the bag, not calling the last movie Bad Boys for Life, and this is the fourth movie. There's no way to go back on that. So, I mean, I think they're moving away from something else is coming out in June that I think they're moving away from The Crow. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
There's maybe a small overlapping audience. Maybe. No. Probably not.
Bad Boys and The Crow?
I take that back. Strike that from the record.
I don't know. Bad Boys did really well, though, in theaters.
You're right. When Bad Boys for Life came out, I think that it maybe broke some records that when it came out. I just didn't particularly care for it. Hopefully this one is better. What I did not know that I saw when I was looking this up was that the same people who made what's the Marvel show with Miss Marvel are behind this movie.
Bad Boys?
Yeah. I was like, no, wait a second. Miss Marvel was, I don't, we'll see. Are we going to see it? I'm going to see it. I've seen all of them. There's no way to not go see this one now.
Is this going to be rated R?
I think they're always rated R.
It's interesting to go from Miss Marvel to like a rated R because Bad Boys is not bloodless. So.
No, I mean, it's very much.
They kill a lot of people in Bad Boys.
And they're supposed to. Like, that's what
more people than they kill in, like, Fast and Furious.
That's what they're supposed to do. And that's why I'm anti this new ragtag team of new people. Because I'm like,
Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are getting old. That's why they have to introduce newer people.
No, they just make another movie called something else.
Okay.
We don't need new people.
Other tidbit, The Hollywood Reporter reports that Wendell Pierce will be playing Perry White in the Superman movie, which has been... Oh, yeah, so that also happened. Superman Legacy's title was changed.
I didn't put that on the list. My bad.
Superman Legacy's title was changed from Superman Legacy to just Superman, which is fine.
Listen, I
think the plot is pretty much the same. It's still going to have Superman and like 12 other people in the movie.
Yeah, I think they just made the title official. I'm very indifferent about Superman, but this casting makes me excited because I like Wendell Pierce.
Yeah, so Wendell Pierce is from things that you may know. The Wire.
Heck yeah.
Waiting to Exhale. He's also in Suits and Jack Ryan, the Tom Clancy show with John Krasinski on Amazon.
Okay.
So he's been in a lot of stuff. Perry White is like a background character in Superman.
Yeah, I know.
He was played by Lawrence Fishburne in Man of Steel and in Batman v Superman. He was the head of the Daily Bugle, Daily Planet.
Right. He's pretty much the J. Jonah Jameson of Superman.
Yeah, he's just not as animated.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
So this is interesting.
I like it. I mean, this doesn't shift the needle on how I feel about this movie, but I like the fact that he's in it. I'm sure. I'm
wondering how much screen time he'll get because he's a background character who's non-superpowered. Apparently the synopsis for the Superman movie is going to be that Lex Luthor has framed Superman for something or has made the world believe the Superman is the bad guy.
We did that already.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Which is why. So they're doing the Black Adam thing with Superman.
Okay.
So where they send in the Justice Society to deal with Black Adam. Because they think Black Adam is the bad guy. They're going to do the same thing here where they send in the Justice Society, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl.
It's too soon to do that, and we just had Black Adam from the same studio.
Well, because it's a reboot. So
okay, we'll see. We're gonna go see Superman. We cannot not see it. This is the Vaguely Nerdy podcast. However, I'm pretty indifferent. They're just talking about it just a touch too much.
I need to see a trailer. They're talking about it because it's not getting a lot of traction.
The movie don't come out for another year.
I know, but they have to get people excited.
Starve us a little bit so we can be like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? So when you put something out, it's like, hey, they've been posting pictures of the cast of the first day. There was a picture of the logo on the suit. There was one of the cast members had a TikTok video. I'm like, y'all, go to y'all set, film this movie, and when y'all done, then you can come back out.
I think the starving us thing works if people are interested in it, but I think if they were to starve us, then people would completely stop discussing it at all. And I think that's what they don't want to happen.
I'll say this.
Even though James Gunn doesn't want people talking about his stuff before it comes out because he wants to come out and debunk it. He also wants you to make sure you don't
debunking it is him talking about it. So that is a ruse. Also, I think that Fantastic Four coming out the same month will greatly help this movie. It's going to be a Barbie. It won't be a Barbie Oppenheimer situation.
It's help it?
Yes, because people are going to talk about, Superman is coming out in 2 weeks. Let's compare it to the Fantastic Four movie that just came out. It's absolutely going to help. It is absolutely going to help Superman. Maybe not at the box office, but at least on the trending topics.
I don't know. I feel like Fantastic Four has such better actors, though.
No, listen, any press is good press. So they're going to take it however they can get it.
Also in tidbits, we have some casting news. So Tati Gabriel and Danny Ramirez have joined the cast of The Last of Us for the next season. They will be portraying Nora and Manny in the second season of The Last of Us. Tati Gabriel is from Uncharted, the film with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. She was also in You and Sabrina. Danny Ramirez, I don't know as many things as he's been in, but I know that he is the new Falcon. So he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And he'll be the new Falcon in the Captain America 4 movie that's coming up.
I liked him. He was good.
He's been acting.
And I like Tati as well, but also like Danny.
So I like both of them. It's so funny because I know how The Last of Us ends.
I feel like everybody knows at this point because of how much every time somebody brings up season 2, people go,
So it's so funny because now they're doing the casting of these characters. They're doing the casting of not to say these specific characters that we're talking about, but a lot of people die in The Last of Us. So they're doing it awfully, gruesomely. There's one chick that's pregnant that gets stabbed in the neck. So and they just casted her. She's not on this list, but they just casted her yesterday as well. So whenever they do the cast reveal for, so-and-so was just casted in The Last of Us, congratulations. I'm like, congratulations, you're going to play a character who dies awfully.
If they keep it the same, right? I guess they could switch it up for the TV show.
They haven't so far.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm very interested in Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1, because I think for people who don't know anything about The Last of Us.
Don't Google it.
That is going
You will instantly find out what he's talking about. It's going to be very fun
on the internet.
Yeah, don't Google it. Although if you are on the Bird app, you will probably already know, because every time a certain person is mentioned, they immediately mention what happens in season 2. Yes. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't look it up, because the people who have played this game will gladly tell you what happens. But we'll see. I didn't watch the first season. I feel like I watched the first season to watch the second season, maybe, though.
You would like The Last of Us. Last of Us is only as scary for you as
the Village
sequel to The Maze Runner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did spill a little popcorn in that, but I can handle that.
Yeah.
I can handle that.
But yeah, and it's just so funny whenever they do casting news for The Last of Us.
You like, check.
Yay, you're going to die.
Check. Right.
This character dies awfully.
Know what happens to this person. Check.
And our last tidbit is there is another reboot for something that we don't need. That it's a very interesting choice.
Really don't need.
With a very interesting actor. So they're doing a reboot of The Naked Gun, where if you don't remember what The Naked Gun is, The Naked Gun, I believe, was a TV. Was a movie. It was like a series of movies.
Right.
So it starred Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley. Interesting.
I don't think I've actually seen any of the Naked Guns, but I know
they've had some celebrity cameos, like O.J. Simpson was in one of the Naked Guns. Weird Al Yankovic was in one of the Naked Guns. But it's basically like a goofy... He's not a James Bond.
He's a cop, right?
He's like an even goofier Beverly Hills Cop.
There you go. Sure. Like that sounds like a good description.
A mix between the Pink Panther and Beverly Hills
There you
Cop.
There you go.
And it's going to star Liam Neeson.
Odd choice. I mean,
yeah, because there's
Liam Neeson is in the lane and he is not moving. Only thing he's done is gone from a drama to a comedy version of the same person in a different movie.
Does Liam Neeson do good comedy?
No. I'm trying to think of a movie where he's been funny. I mean, I'm sure he does. Like
Schindler's List.
It wasn't Taken either.
No.
That's the last thing I've seen Liam Neeson in. I mean, most Taken too.
If you look at Liam Neeson's filmography, it's all just different flavors of Taken and Star Wars and Schindler's List.
Well, after Taken, he literally was like, I'm parked. And that's literally all he's been doing lately. Is the various versions of Taken.
The last Liam Neeson movie I saw was The Grey.
Which was Taken in the snow, right?
No, not really Taken, because he wasn't like...
With a wolf.
He not really Taken.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
But I mean, he kind of played the same character, but if he was like in a plane crash in the Arctic, yeah.
This is not going to do well.
No.
I mean, I know we always say nobody asks for this, nobody asks for most movies, but there's some particular movies where it's like, really, y'all, this is what y'all spending y'all money on.
Are there Naked Gun fans
still alive? Sure, I'm sure.
Okay, so I forgot he was in Clash of the Titans.
Oh, okay.
He played Zeus. We enjoyed him as Zeus.
He was fine in Clash of the Titans. Whatever that sequel was, not so much.
That was a bad movie.
That was not a good movie.
He was in Dark Knight Rises and and Batman Returns.
Boom, there it is. That was probably his last good role.
Really? You think that was his last good role?
Find something better than Ra's al Ghul.
He was Aslan in Chronicles of Narnia.
I'm not counting voice acting.
Okay.
I mean, as far as like roles that he like had to act in,
he was good. He was good as Qui-Gon Jinn.
That was before or after Ra's al Ghul, though.
That was after. That was before.
I was gonna say. Okay, so we're still at Ra's.
I didn't see Nonstop.
You don't need to because it's taken on a train.
Okay.
Next.
Schindler's List. That's it.
Okay, now you went all the way back.
He'll always have Schindler's
List.
He'll
always have Schindler's List and Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, we're not going... He made an appearance in Obi-Wan Kenobi for like 45 and a half seconds. So, sure. His last thing was that I saw him in that I liked was Obi-Wan Kenobi for 45 seconds.
Okay.
But this is weird. I don't think it's gonna go over well.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's interested in a Naked Gun movie.
There's I know there's something else that they can spend this money on, and I want them to do that instead.
So this is going to be made by...
Nobody's claiming it.
It doesn't have anybody claiming it right now, but the other ones were under Paramount. So
probably still Paramount then,
Yeah.
which I think is up for sale. So maybe it will be WB by the time it comes out.
they were going to merge with Warner Brothers, but they canceled the deal. So
maybe Apple will take it
maybe Apple will take it.
and then cancel this movie.
So that is all of our tidbits. Do we have anything else that we needed to throw in?
No, I think that covers all the heavy hitters that happened this week in news.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break and we're going to get into our Dune review for part 2. We are back for our review of this episode, and we are reviewing Dune Part 2. This released on March 1st, 2024, which was yesterday. It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who directed the first Dune. Also did Prisoners, didn't see that. Sicario, very good movie. Arrival, only seen half, but it was a very good movie. Blade Runner 2049, a movie that he regrets making.
Yeah, I was about to say that. And people seem to like Blade Runner 2049 though.
Yeah.
Not a cult a classic, clearly, if he regretted
I think
it.
Blade Runner is still a cult classic, but people don't like Blade Runner 2049 because it undoes a lot of what Blade Runner set up. But Blade Runner is just one of them very obscure world movies. You have to like Blade Runner to like Blade Runner.
Okay. Now here, Prisoners is like an underrated hit that I feel like I need to watch.
Yeah, they say all of his movies are bangers and are like really well received.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and Sicario's really good. Didn't see Sicario 2, but I think they're doing a Sicario 3 where they're bringing back everybody. Josh Brolin, Benicio del Toro, and Emily Blunt.
Yep.
So I will probably see that if I don't have to watch Sicario 2.
Okay. Fair enough. Because that is 2 movies that I have to catch up on.
Yes. Dune has an extensive cast list, and we're going to go over it right now. So, for the Dune cast, we have a lot of returning people. Timothée Chalamet, who plays Paul Atreides. Zendaya, who plays Chani. Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Lady Jessica. Josh Brolin is returning. New faces, we have Austin Butler, who is playing Fade, who is kind of like the lead secondary villain in this part. Austin Butler played Elvis.
Yep.
Florence Pugh, Yelena Belova from the MCU, and plenty of other things. She was just in Oppenheimer as well. She plays Princess Irulan. Dave Bautista returns. Christopher Walken returns. Did we see him in the first one?
I don't remember.
I don't remember if we saw him in the first one.
I don't feel like he was in the first one.
But Christopher Walken is definitely in this movie.
Yeah.
We get Léa Seydoux. Stellan Skarsgård returns as well, and Javier Bardem. We also get a cameo from Anya Taylor-Joy, and we get a brief cameo from Babs. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. Babs Olusegun.
Who was in the last one, at the end of the last one.
Who was at the end of the last one. So this had a runtime of 2 hours and 45 minutes.
A long one.
It was a long one, definitely. You don't feel it all the time, but you definitely feel that at parts.
A tinge. You feel it a tinge.
You do. Creeping on the back of your neck.
Yeah,
2 hours and
exactly. Yeah, you are right, especially at the end.
It has a budget of $190 million, which I think it's going to clear very easily.
It looks like $190 million, though. I'll give them that.
It does. So it has a box office earnings currently so far of $32 million domestically. It's tracking to do $75 to $85 million over the 3-day opening weekend, and $180 to $200 million domestically.
That's actually supposed to say worldwide.
Sorry. 180 to 200 million worldwide. This would nearly double what Dune Part 1 did. If you remember, Dune Part 1 came out as a day and date release.
Yep, sure did.
HBO Max during the pandemic. So most people watched it at home because it was unsafe to go to the theaters.
Yep.
This part 2, has a cinema score of an A.
I mean, the only way you can get better is A+, so that's pretty darn good.
Has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of a 94% and an audience score of 95%. So I think everybody's on the same page. This is a good movie.
This is above average.
Yeah,
I would say, in terms of ratings for movies these days.
Would you be able to summarize the plot?
I'm gonna give it a go.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not gonna go over what Dune 1 is about. Dune 1 was the foundation of Dune Part 2. So Dune Part 2 is about Paul Atreides and his mom, Lady Jessica. They are pretty much stranded. They are trying to get acclimated to the Freemans who have found them in the desert. But Paul is also trying to get revenge for his father's death and the fall of the House Atreides. And in the midst of all that, him and Chani form a relationship. And Paul is also having these visions of something very bad happening in the future.
Right.
And that's pretty much the plot.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
would
much
say.
the plot of the movie.
I think I got all the important points without spoiling it.
It also kind of just continues what the first one set up.
Yes.
Yeah,
We pick
nothing
up
has
right where
been
we left
resolved
off.
so far from the first movie.
Absolutely not.
So, actors and actresses, who did we like? Who didn't we like? Who did a good job? Who didn't do a good job? Standout performances.
I think everybody, and this is going to sound real, what I'm going to say, easy to say, everybody did a good job.
Yeah, I don't have anybody that I don't like.
I would say if I had to like pick, there's no bad performances at all. Everybody showed up, had their water, had their lemons, had their minds fresh, ready to go for all the scenes. Mm-hmm. So everybody did good. Standouts, I've never seen Austin Butler in anything, so I can't compare this to anything else, but he was a standout for me.
He'll be in Bike Riders. You want to see that?
Not seeing that. Okay. So this will be the only Austin Butler movie I see for quite some time. He was very good. Timothy Chalamet, the only other movie I've seen him in is Dune Part 1. So that's the only thing I have to compare it to. His last act.
I saw him in Bones and All.
You did?
I saw Bones and
All.
All.
I was about to say, because I did not. So this is the only thing I have to compare it to.
Okay.
He did very well. Zendaya, I would say this is probably my favorite Zendaya performance.
Absolutely.
She's good in Spider-Man. I haven't seen, what's her show? I haven't seen Euphoria. Malcolm and Marie was real stressful and weird.
Every time somebody mentions that.
So stressful. But she did really good, and this is probably my favorite performance for her. Outside of that, I mean, everybody was good. But Harvey, if I had to pick one person, I would probably say Javier Bardem.
He's probably my favorite.
Was probably my favorite just because of how his character, he kind of had a bit of a, he didn't have a character arc per se, but his character was like pretty, he had a lot of faith.
They bumped him up from the first movie for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He had a lot of faith. His character had a lot of faith in this movie, and it pays off in a sense. And to see him kind of see that payoff was very interesting.
It's very satisfying to see, because usually it's always the person who has the most faith. Like, it's like he reminded me of Morpheus. Morpheus from The Matrix.
Yeah.
When Morpheus had all the faith in Neo.
Right.
And then finds out that Neo isn't the one. He's just the one in a long line of ones. And it's all just like a cycle. And like Morpheus was like shattered. Right. From having that revelation. This was like the opposite, where he was like, Javier Bardem's character was like rewarded for keeping the faith and following through.
Right.
So,
but everybody did good. I would have liked to see more of Florence Pugh in this. Like her character, I liked her character.
It seems like she's gonna be used more in the next one.
Yeah, they kind of set her up to be used more in the next one. But I would have liked to see more of her here.
Just because we like Florence Pugh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I liked everybody as well. Don't have anybody that I didn't like. Timothy Chalamet definitely was a standout because he's the lead, but he gets a lot more, even though he's the lead in the last one. He gets a lot more to do in this one.
Yes, more to do would be a good description.
I guess because we don't split as much time between him and Oscar Isaac as we did in the first one.
Something. It's funny. The first Dune to me is beautiful gowns, and the only thing I can really remember is Oscar Isaac dying and Jason Momoa dying, and then him and his mama get stuck in the desert being found by Zendaya and company. Yeah, I don't remember anything outside of that.
The first Dune really didn't. Timothy Chalamet didn't really grab me in the first Dune. I was more interested in Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, those three characters.
Absolutely.
And then we didn't really get much of Zendaya. And I liked Javier Bardem's character in the first Dune as well. So those four were my standouts in the first Dune. This one, Timothy definitely.
Yeah, they made him lead. Right.
The best performance I've ever seen from Zendaya in anything. Love Rebecca Ferguson and everything. She kind of crept into her Eva Green bag on this one a little bit.
I liked it.
Josh Brolin's always good. Love seeing Thanos. Austin Butler was good.
Yes.
Dave Bautista was more of Drax.
He was.
But it's not a knock. It's just very interesting because he's been, ever since he stopped with Guardians of the Galaxy, he's been on like a press run
Where he wants to do more serious.
Where he
role.
shades the MCU as much as possible.
Right.
And his role is drastic because he just feels like it didn't give him very much to do. And he went on this interview like, oh, if I'm ever first call sheet for a Denis Villeneuve film, I'm absolutely going to be there. And he was, and they made him Drax again. So I find that funny.
That's kind of ironic, actually. Yeah, his character is given Drax for sure.
Christopher Walken is amazing in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Hope he comes back in Severance.
Ah, yeah, Severance.
Léa Seydoux was good. Ro was very small. Don't know
small.
why she acts. Because she doesn't have to.
She enjoys it. What you mean?
Yeah, I'm sure acting is a fun hobby for her.
I know. I think this is her main gig, and she want her own money, even though she got a bunch of money via her family.
I find it very funny that she acts.
Right. I like
good.
her though.
She was good. She was good in this, and she was like my second favorite Bond girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård was still as creepy as he was in the first one.
Mm-hmm. Kept it up.
But very good. And my favorite would probably, like you said earlier, be Javier Bardem.
Okay.
We get a surprise cameo.
Is that a everybody already knows because she was at the premiere, but don't say who she is.
So I'll save the surprise cameo for the spoiler. Then.
Okay.
So let's see. Is there anything we want to mention before we get into spoilers? Any non-spoiler notes?
So this is definitely like the first one, visually stunning. Mm-hmm. We didn't see the first one in theaters. I would say you don't need to watch Dune 1 to go see the second one.
No.
Just get you a little clip off the YouTube.
And it picks up directly after.
Read you the Wikipedia page. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But I would say if you're interested in seeing this one, make sure you go to the movies to go see it. Absolutely. A lot of people were seeing it in IMAX. We just saw it in a regular screen and it still looks good. I'm assuming
it still felt epic and sounded it was so loud.
Crisp.
Yeah.
The sound in this movie is really good. Not even just in terms of the score. Hans Zimmer score, 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. But the sound effects were also great. So this is outside of the movie. Just the sound design in the movie was good. Looked great. Costuming was great. Set design was great. Let's see what other notes that I have that are not spoilery. I think that's it that I have for non-spoiler.
Yeah, so non-spoiler, one of my notes was, is this like Lord of the Rings? Because when this movie came out and the reviews started coming out, people were comparing it to like epic on the scale of Lord of the Rings. No, which is strange.
I would disagree with that.
I don't think it's on the scale of Lord of the Rings as far as the world, which is strange because this takes place like on multiple planets.
Right.
Like mostly one planet, Arrakis, but we go see other characters on other planets in different parts of the movie, and it still doesn't feel as big as Lord of the Rings. The
scale is not as big. Also, one thing that I think people were mainly trying to compare like the battle scenes between Helm's Deep and this movie. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. Close. Two different types of battles.
They had the battles, but they didn't show you. They only showed you like two scenes of the battle. You get the beginning where the Freemen are running in to go into battle. And then
was over.
You get a scene in the middle of the battle with Josh Brolin.
No, that was the end.
Batista. Towards the end of the battle. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like, the collective
we
battle
get Paul
scenes.
Doing his thing, but that's not the battle. Yeah. He's on like a ship doing a thing.
So maybe the war
was outside and we ain't see it.
Comes in the next movie, maybe.
Okay, fine.
Because this movie, like the first one, ends on a cliffhanger.
It's not even a cliffhanger. It's just more of a
lead up to the next one.
Yeah, it's just, so this is not really a spoiler, but the first Dune leads into the second Dune, and the second Dune leads into the third Dune. So if you're going into this movie think you about to wrap it up, sorry, this ain't it. This is a middle child movie. I don't say that in a bad way, but this is a middle child, and there's one more child to come. Right, before this is done.
And we're not comparing it to Lord of the Rings. Other people have compared it to Lord of the Rings, so we were like, "Oh."
Some early reviews were saying it's on the scale of Lord of the Rings. We were like, "Okay."
Said that, so we were like, "Oh, okay." That sets a precedent.
Sure does. If we talk about Helm's Deep now,
right? Exactly. Also, I don't think it has. So this has a lot of character development, but not plot development.
I agree.
Like the characters are moving. The characters are doing things.
They're growing. They're changing.
The characters are growing and changing and saying the things.
Or not
But the plot is not moving as fast as the characters.
True. So one of my biggest things about Dune was that it was just beautiful gowns and not much else. Like, so this is a spoiler alert for Dune 1. Not a lot happens. Like, there's a fight, and then the people that survive the fight go into the desert. And they meet up with the people who live in the desert. And that's kind of it, to be honest. Dune 2, it was the people who survived the fight. One of them has some foreshadowing abilities, and that leads them to a war. And he gets into a relationship in the middle of that.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And then I'm assuming the last one will be the Helm's Deep of the movie, essentially, or the Return of the King of the movie, of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Even though we said we're not comparing them, we technically are. It's not our fault. Other people said it first. So yeah, I'm assuming a lot more will happen in the third one, because you're right. This was character driven, not necessarily plot driven, which makes the movie to me feel long. Yeah.
So, were there any other spoiler thoughts that you had to throw in?
If you like the first one, you're probably gonna like this one. So just go ahead and go see it. That would be my other thought. And I like this one a lot more than I like the first one, for sure.
Yeah, this one was definitely better than the first one. Absolutely. Like everything that they did in the first one, it kind of elevated it. It got kicked up
quite a bit. Yes. So this is an instance of the sequel for me being better than the original.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
Okay, so we are going to get into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, this kind of ends with everybody not in the same place they were before, but
no,
everybody lives.
Pretty much.
Mostly.
So you can guess who lives and who dies. So right. Paul lives, obviously. Chani lives. His mama lives. Javier Bardem. It's actually easier to say who dies. Austin Butler dies.
Batista dies. And Stellan Skarsgård dies.
Right. The family. Basically, the Harkonnens that are in this movie die off.
Yeah. So this movie picks up at the end of the first Dune. Paul and Lady Jessica, Timothy, and Rebecca Ferguson have just been living with the Freemen because their whole kingdom, their house got backstabbed by Christopher Walken and Stellan Skarsgård. Rebecca Ferguson's character is still pregnant. And she has like this telepathic connection with her baby because Jessica Ferguson has become a Reverend Mother.
She becomes a Reverend Mother in the movie because she drinks the water of life. And then now she can hear her daughter and talking to her in her womb.
So the daughter also has the abilities to foresee, to prophesize, just like Paul does. And the daughter is kind of, and this is the embryo. The embryo is kind of like counseling Paul on what he should do. His mom. Right. Counseling Paul through their mom on.
Yeah, pretty much.
On the path that Paul should take.
Paul don't want to do it.
But Paul doesn't want to do it because Paul does not want to be this. It's called the Lisan al-Gaib, which is basically, he does not want to be
the Messiah.
Space Jesus.
Right, or Dune Jesus, I guess. Yeah. So I guess the big thing about this movie is Paul, through the whole movie, is having these visions, these nightmares, where if he goes south, so there's the north side where the Freemen live, and then there's south where not as many people are because it's really hard to live there. He doesn't want to go south because he's having these visions. If I go, billions of people will die. Like, he's like, for some reason, my showing up causes billions of people to die. And throughout the movie, he's trying to avoid it. But the prophecy that has been written keeps coming true. And one of my notes is, as much as he's trying to avoid the prophecy, every little bit of it, like, there's like signs, like he'll do this, he'll do that, he'll go through this. And every piece of it starts happening. And there's one point in the movie where his mom she's scheming the whole movie. She about herself and her child, and she wants to turn the Freemans to believe in this prophecy. So she starts at the bottom with the people with this weakest will.
Yeah, she goes around town preaching the gospel.
Basically, she become a missionary for Paul's sake in Paul's name, and starts, turning people to be like, yeah, Paul's the Messiah, Paul's the Messiah, Paul's the Messiah. And Paul's like, could you stop? Because I don't believe in any of this. But she tells him when she goes south, like, he's like, I'm not going, leave me alone, stop telling these tall tales or whatever. She's like, okay, cool, I'll see you down there though. And he's like, I'm not going. She's like, we'll see you when you get there. And then maybe like an hour later to the movie, Paul's butt show up down south.
Right, because they get driven to the south by the Harkonnens.
Right, but the Harkonnens obliterating the Freeman's home, basically. So I thought that was interesting that Paul's avoiding it. He's avoiding it. He's telling Chani, like, I don't want to go. And Chani's like, as long as you stick to the person you are, we'll always be together. I love you, blah, 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 blah. Soon as Paul hit the south border, he drank the little water of life, the truth juice. He big man on campus. Yeah. And exactly what he was trying to avoid is what happens. And I like that plot line because you see him like, he's struggling not to go. And he don't even like have a gradual change. That junk is instant. He way back up like, oh yeah, I guess I am the man. Okay, let's get it cracking.
Like it's an instant transition.
Right.
So also we get Florence Pugh's character enters the chat. She plays the daughter of Christopher Walken, who is the Grand Emperor of all of the houses. He's like the Palpatine of this world.
Yes.
So she's like his daughter.
He's Palpatine, but we don't know he's a Palpatine yet.
Right. So it's not well known to the rest of the galaxy that Christopher Walken committed some form of treason, basically, by scheming to have the House of Atreides murdered, which he succeeded in doing. But
they don't know Paul is alive technically.
They think that they completely wiped out the House of Atreides. Right. They don't know that Paul and Jessica Ferguson lived. The only people who know that he lived is Florence Pugh, who has an inkling suspicion because as soon as the Atreides were declared dead, Paul takes the name of Muad'Dib, right, as a Freeman. But this Muad'Dib rises up, this rebellion starts blowing up it's like stories that were getting passed back up. Right, starts blowing up all the spice plants and interrupting the spice trade. So she has an inkling that it's Paul surviving, wreaking havoc. Right. The Reverend Mothers, who also plotted to have the House of Atreides killed, have the inkling suspicion. But nobody's saying anything yet because that means that Christopher Walken could lose his throne and his position. Right. Right. Christopher Walken is telling Stellan Skarsgård and Batista and them, y'all got to clean up this mess. Right. I hired y'all to get rid of them. It sounds like they survived. Y'all got to clean up this mess. Also, there's one of my notes is everybody's backstabbing everyone. Because Stellan Skarsgård is also, even though Christopher Walken hired Stellan Skarsgård and the Harkonnens to kill the House of Atreides, Stellan Skarsgård is planning to use Fade, who's Austin Butler, as to take over Christopher Walken. To kill. They're trying to use Fade to kill Timothée Chalamet. Right. Yep. And then after Fade kills Timothée Chalamet, they're going to reveal to the world, to everybody, that Christopher Walken plotted to kill the House of Atreides so that Christopher Walken loses his throne. Right. And the Harkonnens ascend to power. Right. Take over. Through Fade. So it's a lot of backstabbing. It's a lot of you can't trust them. Everybody's scheming. You can't trust them. And what I thought was going to happen was that Paul's mom, I thought that it was going to come back around that she was also in the scheme, but I like that she wasn't. So she literally was out for herself. She wasn't thinking nothing about scheming with the Harkonnens and what they was up to, because one of the, I wouldn't call it a plot twist, but one of the reveals of the movie is that Lady Jessica is actually the daughter of Stellan Skarsgård's character. She's a Harkonnen, which makes Paul also a Harkonnen. So Paul is like he's part Atreides, part Harkonnen. Yeah, it's like 50-50 split. Right. So he's actually got bloodline of the villains in the story. So when they said that, I was like, oh man, she been scheming. But she was like, I didn't even know until I took the truth juice. Which means that she was conceived, born, and then like given up immediately. Yeah, and the one thing I didn't like about the movie is we just kind of skip right over that. Yeah, like there's no backstory, no flashback, no exposition. There's one mention right when Paul kills Stellan Skarsgård by stabbing him neck. He says, so I think he calls him grandfather. Right. I think the Baron Harkonnen, Stellan Skarsgård's character, knows. And maybe he didn't tell anybody else because Paul's calling people cousin and uncle and granddad, and they all like, what are you talking about? I think Stellan Skarsgård knows that he had a daughter that he casted to the wind at some point. Yeah, maybe. And didn't realize that it was coming back to bite him. Okay, that would make sense. But I feel like he would have known that his daughter married Paul Atreides' dad. Maybe he didn't. Maybe because it seems like the only memory she had of him was seeing him when she was a baby.
Right.
Maybe he completely stopped keeping track of her.
That's true, because she wasn't Paul's. She's Paul's mom, but she wasn't his dad's wife.
Because you would think that would
she was
play
a concubine,
factor.
technically.
You would think if he knew that Rebecca Ferguson was his daughter, that would play a factor in him trying to wipe out the entire family line.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Because technically she was a Harkonnen.
Right. And I guess there were several scenes in this movie that I wish were longer. The battle, I wish was longer.
Yeah, we didn't get as much battle.
The scene or some sort of explanation or some sort of something around the fact that we find out that Lady Jessica was a Harkonnen. And then some scenes I feel like could have been cut. Like, I liked Austin Butler in this movie, but the scene where we see, and you see this in the trailer, where he's fighting in like the Gladiator Coliseum.
It was underwhelming.
It wasn't. The best parts about that were Lea Seydoux and the Harkonnen. Like their conversation,
just watching.
Yeah, them watching and having commentary of what's going on. So that, I even like the scene before he gets to the Coliseum better than I like the scene in the Coliseum.
I thought that Coliseum scene was weird because I didn't know what they were trying to tell us about Fade, because they show us. I guess we're supposed to. The Harkonnens, they've found Fade and they're recruiting Fade to go be the one to go kill Timothée Chalamet for good.
Right.
However, we see the Gladiator scene, and I was very confused because it seems like he was only able to fight prisoners if they were like drugged up.
Right.
So it reminded me of Zack Snyder's Justice League when we see Darkseid. And the first scene we get of Darkseid is him getting his butt kicked by all the other heroes who aren't superheroes, just regular superpower beings. And we're supposed to believe that he's the Thanos of this universe, but you're introducing us to him by him getting his butt handed to him and fleeing.
I wasn't convinced. I was like, is he, when I leaned over to you, was like, is so he's not good?
Because I was like, so are they trying to tell us that he's actually not as capable as Timothée Chalamet because he clearly has to fight drugged up opponents? Because when they find out that one of the slaves isn't drugged, they're freaking out.
Right.
Like the stagehands are like,
what's going on?
We got to do something. We got to call the fight off. There's no way he can take on a slave that isn't under the influence.
And Baron
of drugs.
Harkonnen is like, no, let it ride.
And then Fade afterwards, I thought Fade was going to be happy that one of the slaves wasn't drugged because he wanted a challenge. But afterwards, he goes telling Skarsgård, like, you sent me out there with an undrugged slave. I could have been killed. I should drown you. I'm like, so are you...
Right. Are you any good?
Are you any good?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like you're any good.
That whole scene was kind of like... It wasn't the acting. It was the fact that the scene didn't seem to add... Like, I wasn't fearful of Fade because I'm like, Fade doesn't fight fair.
And outside of the drugged up slaves, we only see him kill defenseless women in the rest of the movie. He kills two handmaidens for no reason. He
sliced one of the workers.
He cuts her throat and then shanks the other one.
Yeah.
And they're defenseless. And then he burns the one
Chinese friend.
Yeah, Chinese friend.
Which I did not like that she died. That was my other thing I didn't like.
So when we get to the point where I was just very confused by his character, because after seeing that he obviously can't fight people unless they're drugged up. Right. And then he only just kills like regular women. When it comes to the big fight with him and Timothée Chalamet, I'm like, well, there's no stakes here. Because
Well, it's funny because Paul actually had a challenge fight in Fade. And I was like, well, how is this a challenge? Because he only fight drugged up.
And the rest, while we're seeing Fade kill these people very easily because he has the advantage. Right. We're seeing Timothée Chalamet doing all these little fights on the planet. Yeah. And we're seeing that Timothée Chalamet is clearly very capable.
Right. And he should have taken Fade out in like 2 seconds flat.
Austin Butler seems like the Malfoy.
Yes.
Where it's like you're the spoiled child that gets everything. So when he goes up against Timothée Chalamet, I'm like, this should be an easy fight, right?
Right. And it ended up being like I like that scene because what they did was they cut the music out. So the only sound is of their blades going back and forth. At this point, it was, I don't know, we at the 2 hour-ish mark. And I'm like, can we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, because we know you're going to die.
We know either he going to die or go to jail or be a prisoner. And we know Paul going to live. So, I mean, come on. Let's kind of... It was giving me Killmonger and T'Challa. Yeah. Except that fight was... They were cousins. Yeah, they were cousins. So...
No, you actually were in the Killmonger versus T'Challa, you actually knew that Killmonger was capable.
Oh, right.
He seemed menacing.
Right. I mean, he had murder marks all over his body.
He was like a mercenary and all of that. So
he was a proven capable killer.
It seems like that's what they were going for, but they didn't sell me on Fade being like a real threat. They sold me on him being nuts.
Austin Butler did a very good job of playing a psycho, which is
crazy. He reminded me of Powder.
Yes. Florence Pugh's character says he's psychotic. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. That's perfect, accurate description.
Yeah, why would you want to make him the king? But the Reverend Mothers don't seem like their heads are screwed all the way on anyway.
They're also very power-driven, and in this particular one, it bit them in the butt, for sure.
Yeah, because I guess in the first movie, they kind of allude to the fact that Timothée Chalamet was supposed to be a girl.
Right.
Because he's a man, he'll never rise to the power that we need him to. So therefore, he's a waste. Rebecca Ferguson is a waste because they didn't have the girl that we needed. But
right.
I don't think they foresaw him being this chosen one.
Right.
And that absolutely came back to bite them in the butt. I thought that they would get their comeuppance and get killed, but maybe they'll be killed in the next one.
We got a whole movie left.
The evil Reverend Mother gotta go.
Yeah, I like her evilness.
I do like her. I'll put it that way. She's a good villain.
I like the fact that she always about self, and she will tell you she about self. Unless she's trying to get you, then you won't know it's coming. Essentially, one of my other notes says that Paul got the girl and then left her in the same movie.
Yeah,
which I didn't see coming. So Paul and Chani, as side point, another scene that I was like, what are we doing here? Is the scene where Javier Bardem tells Paul he has to go in the desert to become a freeman and do the little trial or whatever. And we don't ever really see him like go through that trial.
No, it seems like he's out there for a little bit. Then Chani
shows up and then it's over.
And helps him.
And I was like, okay, we could have cut that 10 minutes out. But anywho, Chani and Paul fall in love, which is obvious from the trailer. What I did not realize at the start of the movie is that they weren't going to be in love. So that progressed pretty quickly. They kind of zoomed through them falling in love. So they a couple and, they sharing each other's like fears and hopes and wants and dreams and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to change and I love you, whatever. So Paul drinks the truth juice. He turns into, I'm the Messiah and all that. And he has this I thought the speech was pretty good. It's pretty convincing. Timothée Chalamet turned up the acting on that. And then at the end of the movie, he tells Chani, I'll love you as long as I live. And immediately turns to Florence Pugh's character and says, I'm not going to lop your daddy's head off, but I want to. What I will do in addition to that is marry you so that we can like rule House Atreides. And I was like,
rule the houses together.
Excuse me? Your ex-girlfriend is 5 feet away from you.
And even Florence Pugh was like, your ex-girlfriend is 5 feet away from you.
There were several shots of Florence Pugh looking at Zendaya like, is she about to turn up? Is she going to say anything? Zendaya's Chani doesn't say anything the whole time. She just got this real pissed off look on her face. Like, I'm sorry, what are you doing?
Even Rebecca Ferguson knows because Chani was required. So it's even Rebecca Ferguson tells Chani, like, you're a part in this prophecy too. Chani was required in order to wake him back up after he drinks the water of life.
Juice.
So he had to fall in love with Chani anyway in order for that to happen, just to leave her.
It was crazy. And apparently that's a change from the book. Like in the book, she's not in it as much. And I guess that whole exchange of her getting married, him marrying her, sticking around is different from the book. Well, the movie she leaves. Like at the end of the movie, we basically see Chani leave. They go into war. They go into this holy war, whatever.
She's not going to the next war.
That Paul is officially kicked off. She's going back to, we assuming, to where the rest of the remaining freemen are. In the book, she actually sticks around. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that in the third movie, but I was just kind of like, this is crazy. But I looked up the plot of the first one, and Paul actually says that's what he's going to do. He says, I'm going to marry the daughter of the emperor so that, I can rise back up to power. And I was like, oh, he's been scheming this whole time. That's so unfortunate.
So once he'd been scheming the whole time, I start to dislike his character after he became the Messiah, just because he just seemed to like be really full of himself.
Oh,
even though
for sure.
It's hard to argue against because everything that he thought and saw and said actually did come to pass. So it wasn't like he was wrong, but he just was annoying.
He was arrogant about it.
He was very arrogant.
There's a scene where he comes into, I guess it's like a temple, and he gives like this speech, and he's basically proven to the rest of the Freemen, like, I am the Messiah, because he like reads somebody's mind or history.
You can like see the future and the past at the same time.
Right. And I like that scene because of how Timothée Chalamet portrays it. But Paul,
the character,
is a jerk.
Yeah.
He turned full.
He becomes the worst.
Jerky Messiah. Like he ain't Jesus Messiah where he's kind. You know what I mean? Jesus turned up, but he wasn't a jerk about it.
Yeah, he's like Jesus if Jesus went around saying, "Don't you know I'm Jesus?"
Right. Don't you? And you need to follow me because I'm about to win us this war. Is essentially what Paul turns into. But Timothée Chalamet did a good job at it, so I'll give it that.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything? Oh, so before we get to anything that we would change, we got a lot more stuff in this. Like when I said that they bumped everything from the first one up a couple notches. Sandworms. Sandworms, the sandworm cup runneth over. We get big sandworms. We get regular size sandworms. We get baby sandworms.
Little baby sandworm.
We get multiple sandworms at the same time. They basically use the sandworms like the bus.
Yes, which I didn't realize in the first one.
Yeah, in the first one, it seems like the sandworm appearance is like extremely scarce. Right. But in this one, it's
transportation.
The sandworms kind of seem like pets. They just call them when they need them, and like horses. They just call them when they need them, and they ride them to wherever they need to go. Yeah, that
was interesting because they do it several times in the movie where they travel by worm, and I was like, oh, this is a community type situation here. Yeah. Okay.
So I liked seeing more sandworms. I liked the scene where Paul had to learn how to ride a sandworm for the first time. That was kind of tense because just the scale of it, and it's basically like riding a mountain. And of course,
a moving mountain at that.
Yeah. And of course, when he has to call one, he calls like the world's biggest one that they've ever seen. They call it the grandmother sandworm. Yes. So that's even more proof that he's the Messiah. Because
there's a mural when they cut after that scene, when they cut back to Lady Jessica sitting in the temple. There's a scene of this Messiah figure riding a sandworm. I was like, oh, this is getting harder and harder to not prove here.
Right.
Did Paul see this?
And after every miracle, they cut to Javier Bardem saying like, see, he's the Messiah.
Which is why I like this character so much, because he has such faith that Paul was the one. And some of the freemen, including Chani, are like this, including Paul, are like, this is not, these are fairy tales. These are stories. I'm here to help free the people. I'm not here to be no Messiah. I'm not going down south. Yeah. But as the movie progressed, every time Javier Bardem's character would be like, I told you. Don't you see it? Because I told you.
So what we liked and what we didn't like about the movie.
I mean, I guess we kind of already talked about most of it. What I liked the most was that more action. There was more action, even though all the action, what do I want to say? It's very desert.
Yeah.
It's very...
like all the action set pieces are the same. It's just desert, and more desert.
It's very desert, so you're not getting like John Wick. We don't go into that. You're not even getting Lord of the Rings. You're getting Dune. But more action. I like the people who didn't have as much time in the first one got way more time in this one. So Javier Bardem, Zendaya, I like that. What I didn't like was some of the scenes I wish were longer, and some of the scenes I wish they could have just...
Pacing was...
There it is. Okay. Pacing. I would agree with that.
I feel like like I said, the characters progressed. The characters had a lot of development. Rebecca Ferguson changed. Timothée Chalamet changed. Zendaya got a lot more to do. Javier Bardem. Like the characters themselves were moving. The plot was not. I feel like plot-wise...
Not nearly as much.
Not very much happened.
I mean, we going into a war. We were going into a war at the beginning of the movie. Just a different one.
Everything looked super nice. Everything sounded super nice. It just, the plot, the story.
Need a little more meat on the bones.
And the scenes that I feel like I wish that would have been longer was, and this was another note, that I feel like they're accomplishing a lot that we're not seeing. We get kind of almost like a montage, just scenes back to back of them blowing up spice rigs and blowing up
they good
these spice plants, but we don't actually see them do any of that. We just
it's like aerial shots of it.
Yeah, we just get a scene of a spice plant blowing up.
Right.
And we're just made to assume that they hatched a plan, they got in there, they planted the bombs.
We see it one time, like in full detail, but then it happens back to back to back, and you're kind of like, well, how many people they bring in every time they do this?
But they only show us one time of them blowing up one spice rig in the middle of the desert, but then they show other spice rigs being blown up. So the more and more times they do it, it becomes less and less believable that they got this accomplished, because you're never actually showing us how these people who don't have very many numbers, don't have very many resources, but are doing a lot more damage than the Harkonnens or Christopher Walken's house is doing.
And I was, so now that you bring it up, like, how was they moving around so fast?
Yeah. And if their main travel is worms, don't you think you would be able to hear like a worm approaching at some distance? Like, at what point did they get off the worm and walk?
That's one thing we didn't see. So we don't see them embark on a worm.
Yeah. We don't see how they get multiple people on a worm.
Oh, they be taking like tents and people and buggies and all that.
It's difficult enough to get one person on a worm.
It looks difficult because we see it.
When they get whole tribes and pregnant Rebecca Ferguson on a worm in this pod, I'm like, did they get the worm to stop? So
they have to.
Put it on?
I don't know how.
Did they make Rebecca Ferguson run and jump?
There's
on the worm
no
too?
way. There's no way.
It's very strange. But suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, it is a science fiction movie, so there we go.
I didn't expect so much religion going into it. Didn't mind it, but I did not know this was so religious until this one.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's a lot of like Messiah prophecy, praying.
Yeah, in the first one, it seemed more like political. This one definitely seemed more religious.
Okay, definitely from the Freeman side of it.
Yeah,
for sure. Like the Harkonnen side seemed religious or seemed political, but the Freeman side seem more religious.
Yeah, so the first one, it goes from politics to religion, which is not an issue, but I just didn't expect it to be so. I think it was Javier Bardem's character.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in the first one, he did not seem like a religious fanatic, but in this one, he completely became like a religious fanatic.
Listen, he was on the ground praying and all of that.
Yeah, so I thought his character his character had completely changed from the first and second movie, but I still liked him. He was still my favorite. Any other miscellaneous notes?
No, I think that covered about everything I had.
I have some notes.
Let me see. Oh, I did have one that said, this whole movie is about Paul, which technically it is.
It is.
Lord of the Rings reference again. The one thing about Lord of the Rings is you have all these groups of people, and I cared about all of them. Like you have the elves, you have the men, you have the hobbits, Gandalf. So I had an attachment to all the different plot lines that were going at once. Not that I didn't care about these characters, but everything's about Paul. Like Javier Bardem's faith is about Paul. Rebecca Ferguson's trying to get the people to believe in Paul. Chani and Paul are in a relationship. The Harkonnens want to get Paul killed. Like it's all about Paul, which is kind of, I don't know. I don't know if that's a negative or a positive, but I don't know if centering on one character took away from this movie.
It feeds the Messiah complex, but it doesn't. Yeah. It also doesn't help the whole comparing it to Lord of the Rings thing, critics comparing it to Lord of the Rings things, because in Lord of the Rings you could replace Paul with like the ring. Everybody cared about the ring, but the ring stopped being the main subject of attention in Lord of the Rings. It was Gandalf and Aragorn they completely gave up on trying to get the ring to Mount Doom because they couldn't be part of that. They focused on trying to get rid of Saruman and focus on the wars. When they were like, we'll just leave the ring thing to Frodo. Right. We have to focus on the rest of this stuff. The elves had other things.
It was a divide and conquer situation.
Yeah, it was, and there were multiple moving pieces and everybody had to do their own separate part. And this one,
with the main end goal, but still doing different parts of it. And
this one, it was kind of like everybody's converging on Paul. And maybe it's because we didn't read the books. So we don't know the source material. So it just seems a little weird.
But I feel like if the movie is good, it should stand by itself.
I don't think the movie is doing a good job of explaining the Messiah.
Okay.
I think the books and the source material might. I don't think the movie is doing a good job of explaining why he is important. Because
why specifically Paul?
We get a scene with Florence Pugh and the Reverend Mother, and Florence is confronting her like, "Are you the one who convinced my dad to turn against the House of Atreides?" And she was like, "Of course I did. Otherwise it wouldn't happen."
Right.
And Florence was like, "Well, why did you do that?" She was like, "Well, we're approaching the precipice of the highest form of power that has ever been discovered." But I'm like, okay, so what is this power?
Yeah, you're right.
She's not
I'd
defining
agree with that.
what is what is this
What's
power?
the thing, right? What is the thing that you want? Like, where does it come from? What's the history behind there it is. Some of the history of this lore is missing in the movie that you would have had to read the book probably to understand.
Because I'm still not very clear on what the Reverend Mothers want.
Power
of what?
The universe?
Is it the voice? Is it the power to use the voice to control people? I just don't.
They already have that technically.
Yeah,
I mean,
but maybe
they're
more?
called Reverend Mothers.
Maybe they want a voice that controls the entire galaxy.
I don't know, but you mentioned in the religious aspect. At the end of the movie, Lady Jessica says this is the moment that this is the holy war. So there's obviously a history of some sort of holy war that's been speculated to come.
And until she said that, I had no idea that that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
A holy war is a very specific type of war.
Yes. She said the words holy war at the end, which is what I guess Paul was seeing in his vision, but he never called it that. Because he wasn't thinking about the Messiah angle. He was like, I just see visions of billions of people dying. He actually does see his mom as the one walking. So maybe some of that wasn't really explained. And then the cameo that you were talking about was the fetus, the baby,
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Is actually Anya Taylor-Joy. She plays a grown-up version of Paul's sister. And she's like, Paul, you're going to take the truth juice. You're going to see where you come from. And that's how we find out that they're Harkonnens. And, but I love you. So she's telling Paul as a grown up, she loves him. And then that's all we see of her.
Yeah.
We don't see her anymore after that, which I mean, I get why. Like she's full grown.
She's not even born.
Right. She's not even born. So let's not do the whole back and forth because she ain't alive yet. And they reference her as a baby, as a fetus, several times in the movie. So they ain't forgot about her in the movie at all. But
so who would like this movie?
If you like the first one.
Yeah. If you like the first one, or if you like big epic films, like on the scale of like a Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Or a 10 Commandments.
Yes. If you like epic scale movies, if you like beautiful looking movies with action.
Great set, great CGI. I have a couple notes about the CGI.
I didn't even notice where it was even anywhere where it was like, ooh.
Christopher Walken's ship was amazing.
I love the ship.
The little shiny ore. It reminded me of in Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Padme's like shiny ship.
Oh, yes.
It was super reflective and it was like a mirror.
Freshly
basically.
Polished.
I loved the spaceships. The spaceships were good.
It was the Death Star was way bigger. Imagine a little Death Star, but silver.
Yeah.
And freshly polished and glistening.
The costumes are great. I love the jetpacks that they use. The jetpacks that don't make a sound.
Oh, quiet.
It just makes them float like they're on the moon.
Yes.
But there's no like sound
there's no
to it.
Yeah.
They kind of just walk off and start to float.
That
no,
was
like,
cool.
Propulsion. I like that.
That was cool.
I thought the use of the water thing was interesting. How they
basically recycle water from people who have died.
They kill their enemies and then suck the water out of them
to use for water filtration.
And people who die,
like Freeman who died.
To honor them, they dehydrate them and then they pour their water into the pool.
It's like a holy pool.
Holy pool with other
people who have died.
Other people who have died.
And they don't touch it.
And they Javier Bardem's like, we plan to use this water to re-nourish the earth and bring back paradise and blah, blah, blah. I thought that was very interesting. And, my last note is more slow-mo than a Snyder film, but you can see what happens when you use it properly.
Was there a lot of slow motion?
It was a lot of slow-mo of him walking through the desert.
Oh,
and his cape
you're right.
Flowing in the wind.
They was trying to give Doom Jesus.
Rebecca Ferguson walking through the desert and
Yeah.
her hair blowing. There was a lot of slow-mo. But they actually showed you things happening during the slow-mo. Whereas Zack Snyder films, he just does slow-mo of
everything stops.
slow-mo of somebody tossing something into the air. Slow-mo of somebody
Flipping a burger.
Entering a room to the sound of like a pin drop.
Right. You're right. He does do it well because there are a lot of shots of Timothée Chalamet's got that whole I've arrived kind of walk and look, and he's
walking through the crowds of people.
It's giving big man on campus. It's giving I'm Dune Jesus.
Lots of slow-mo explosions that are from a distance. Like when he drops, like when he sends the nukes. In the beginning of the war at the end of the movie.
Well done slow-mo. Well done slow-mo for sure.
Favorite line or scene?
When Paul has to ride the sandworm from the first time. That would probably be my favorite because Javier Bardem is like, no fancy stuff. Because in order to become a Freeman, you have to learn how to ride the big sandworms. And Javier Bardem is like, don't be fancy, like just simple. Don't be out here showboating.
Because you're going to embarrass me if you die.
Right. Don't embarrass me getting killed trying to ride this worm. And they're all sitting on this hill and Paul goes to do his thing. And they kind of, they got their popcorn, not literally popcorn, but they sitting back chilling, waiting for the sandworm to show up. And when it does show up, they're like, crap, this worm is large. Yeah. It is extremely big. And Zendaya, Chani, is like, she ain't enjoying it because she's nervous about it. He ends up doing it, obviously. But the whole scene and the build up of him going through the sand and riding the worm and stuff was beautifully shot. Beautiful gowns. So that would be my favorite.
My favorite would be, and Javier Bardem did this multiple times, but my favorite time he did it was at the end of the movie after he kills Fade. And Javier Bardem exclaims, he's like, see, he's the Messiah. Because everybody in that room, during his fight with Fade, it looked like he was going to lose.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell everybody in that room was like worried.
Yep.
Like everybody was like, especially
because Josh Brolin says, you don't have to do this. Let me do it for you. Yep.
Yeah. And Javier Bardem is like, nervous because anytime Timothée Chalamet has to do something, Javier Bardem gets nervous because like, I've been telling everybody you're Jesus, so if you die like
it's not gonna work.
If you die unceremoniously, I'm gonna look like an idiot,
right?
So
he gonna have the Morpheus effect.
He gets stabbed in the side by Fade and everybody's thinking, that's it, that's it, he's done for. But then he pulls it off, he kills Fade, and Javier Bardem like exhales. You hear all the breath come out of his lungs. He's like, whew.
Right. Thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Dude, Jesus.
That's basically what he said.
That was a good scene.
Javier Bardem had all the comedic moments, which I really
He was
enjoyed.
the comedic relief, but in like it wasn't overdone.
No, in a very real way. Like,
right.
It was funny watching somebody be so worried and it like pay off and then it just go, whew, thank God. Because I was unsure for a moment.
It definitely felt like everybody in that room was holding their breath during that fight.
And I had when Josh Brolin's character killed Drax. When Josh Brolin's character killed Dave Bautista, I wrote down Drax versus Thanos, and Thanos killed Drax's family. So the irony of him coming back and killing Dave Bautista in a separate movie is funny.
That is funny. I wonder if they had some MCU.
Oh, I bet, because it was motion capture. So Josh Brolin was actually on the set doing the filming those scenes.
Okay,
so yeah,
okay, that's funny.
So final words about the movie and our rating.
I'm happy that I enjoyed this more than the first Dune. I would probably, I don't know if it's going into my DVD collection though.
Probably not.
Probably because of the length and because to me the third act is the best part of the, like after Paul takes the truth juice and turns into big man on campus, that's when the film really turns it up for me. And the fact that this film looks best in the movie theaters. Like, and I ain't recapturing that at home, but due to the fact that it was long and then some of the scenes I thought I wanted to be longer and some of the scenes that I thought could be removed from the movie, that the pacing, as you said, but I enjoyed it. It was good. I agree with the A rating. I agree with the critic score. I agree with the audience score. I wonder if it's going to make $1 billion, maybe?
I don't think it's going to make $1 billion.
Okay, 800 million.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of people have also said that their showings were premium screens are sold out.
Yes, right, because they're trying to sell it to see it on IMAX because of the visuals.
But every theater only has so many premium screens, and like 2. Most
right. Ours only has 1, the one we go to.
A few premium screens, 2 to 3.
Okay.
And I think our AMC has 3.
Yeah, AMC got like 4 different types of premium screens.
And because of the length of the movie, it can only run so many times a day.
Right.
So people are saying that the premium screen showings are sold out, but the regular screens aren't.
Not so much.
And we went to see it at a regular screen because of the time.
Yes.
And our show
was not sold out.
There was a lot of, everybody was sitting like in our section.
Right.
There was a lot of seats up front that nobody was in. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's going to make $1 billion, but I mean, it's going to clear the budget. So that's the plus.
And it'll probably, when award season swings back around,
it's got the critical acclaim.
It'll probably get some award nominations.
So for my rating, I'll give this 5 Nicole Kidmans.
Oh, that's right. We were rating. I would give it 4.5. We'll give it 4.5.
4.5 Nicole Kidmans?
Only because 5, for me to be a 5, I have to want to rewatch it.
Okay.
It's the only way you're getting a 5 out of me. If I would be like, you know what? I would either see it in theaters right now again, or when it comes out on DVD, I'm going to buy it. That's a 5 for me.
Okay. So
4.5 would be for me.
That's fair. So I guess I'll give it a 4.5 because I wouldn't.
You can give it a 4.8.
I wouldn't mind watching it again. We talked about how sometimes when we go on vacation, we'll
have some downtime.
We'll have some downtime in the room, and if this is playing on like one of the cable networks, we'll watch it.
We did that with Lord of the Rings over Thanksgiving
with the Return of the King.
We were watching that junk like we had never seen it before,
and it was watching a movie in a hotel room while it's just playing on TV and you don't have control over it. Right. It's completely different than just popping it in the house.
It is,
it's
because
that's a viewing experience.
It's because you could literally watch any of the other channels or watch nothing, and you decide to sit in that room in your little comfy bed and watch this TV and watch this movie that you've already seen.
So I'll give it 4.5 Nicole Kidmans because I wouldn't watch this on my own, but if this was like playing on TV and I was on vacation, I would definitely turn it on. The only reason I wouldn't watch it on my own is because plot wise, not enough happens for me.
Yeah,
for it to be as long as it is. Like if it wasn't as long as it was,
maybe like 2 hours, 2:15, 2:20.
Would I sit on my free time,
right, and watch almost 3 hour movie,
3 hours worth of something that not very much happens, but it just looks good and sounds very good, and I like the people in it, but not much happens? No.
Okay.
So 4.5 Nicole Kidmans. I think Nicole would enjoy this.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth the theater. Like we said, we saw it on a non-premium
screen. If you
screen.
Are even slightly interested, or you think you might want to go, don't wait till it goes on streaming. Go watch this in the movie theater.
Yeah, because a lot of the shots are very wide. They're showing you everything they can. The sandworms are huge. Like the scene when they don't hear the sandworms, but it just appears out of the dust storm.
Yep.
That's like a theater experience. You have to be there for
and
that.
The score is great.
The score is great. The speakers be knocking.
Yes.
When the movie ended and we were like talking during the credits rolls, I was like, "Can we leave?" Because it's actually
we couldn't hear each other.
Thoughts.
Right? We couldn't hear each other. But it was If you were on the fence and you're like, I don't know if I want to see Dune, do yourself a favor, just go check it out in the theater because it's definitely made for the theater for sure.
Absolutely. So that is our review of Dune Part 2. What are we reviewing next week? So
here we go. Parallel, which we were going to try to see the week where we didn't have a movie, but it wasn't in theaters anywhere. That is out on digital, so we could watch that. Or Damsel also comes out on Netflix next weekend. I want to see Damsel too.
I was going to say Parallel. We could do a double feature if you want, since they're on digital. We're going to have parents in town this weekend, so I don't know how we're going to manage that one, sir. We have to pick and choose. I would rather see Parallel. Okay, fair enough. So next episode, we will do Parallel. Okay. I'll watch Damsel on my own and let y'all know how it is. Yeah. Maybe we'll save Damsel for a blank week. There it is. We should probably, because I think March might be a little bumpy, and then we good when April come around. Okay. All right. So thanks for listening. If you like our show, please give it a share. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on our website, vaguelynerdy.com, where you can leave us a voicemail as well that we can play on our show. You can follow us on Twitter at vaguelynerdypod, Facebook at vaguelynerdypodcast, or IG at vaguelynerdypodcast as well.
You can also reach us via email at our email address, vaguelynerdypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
All right. See you next time.
Peace.